On today's show, we're going to be talking about maximizing your social media for your church in 2020. Hey, guys, welcome to the Church Media Guys show. If you've not been here before, I'm Dave. Justin will be on in just a second. But if you would like to learn how to leverage media and technology so that you can take the gospel to the world, start now by clicking that subscribe button and ringing that bell. With me, as always, as I alluded to just a second ago, is my cohort, my companion, my brother from another mother, the skinny, the haired Justin Nava.
I wouldn't say skinny, maybe less rotund.
Yes,
would be good. I think I've just been downgraded to stocky.
Okay,
so that's cool.
All right.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you, Dave, for that wonderful introduction. Thank you for not calling me lovely. It's great to start 2020 off that way. And shout out to our live streamers watching the recording live, Brian, Adam.
Brian Adams.
Keegan is new in here. Let's see, Chris, Antoine, Tommy. Love to see you guys here. Feel free to talk to each other or ask us questions in here. Christopher always said, how can we use social media effectively? It would help if the platforms wouldn't change so much on us.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about that today, just a little bit before we even get started. But first, I want to ask you, are you running your church's social media, wherever you're watching this, Facebook, YouTube, Facebook, if you are listening to this after the fact, yell at us through your speakers. Are you running your church's social media? I ran a poll on Saturday, this last weekend, the second weekend of the year, and man, 85% of the people that responded to the survey, just are you running your church's social media, said yes, I'm running it. A few of y'all said we have it, but I don't have a hand in it. None of y'all said that you don't have anything. And then a few of y'all said you have something, but no one's really doing anything with it. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. But we're specifically, I want to just, as we're in 2020, a lot of us want to see something big happen in our church. We want to see revival. We want to see God move. But a lot of us, I think we would also just like to see the church grow. We would like to see the kingdom grow and people, flood our churches. And I want to talk really quickly. We're going to talk specifically today using social media as a part of your church growth strategy. And the reason why I chose this today is because already we're having other people in the social media space, in the business space, and even in the church space talk about, hey, do these things, follow these trends, do these steps, and you'll really connect with more people on social media. Every year, those steps, those trends, those tactics are going to change. And so when we talk about how to grow your church with social media in 2020, today specifically, we're not talking about click this button and people are going to start coming to your church.
Yeah, it's not like that.
Yeah. Church growth is rarely a tactic, okay? That means rarely are you going to go out and say, oh, here's a pamphlet, here's a tract, go give this to 100 people, and on Sunday, you're going to have 100 people at your church. It doesn't work like that. Church growth is a strategy. Mm-hmm. It's a bunch of moving pieces that get people involved and get people curious and get people to take a step into your church. And yeah, butts and seats, it's just a vanity metric.
Right.
Those butts are stories. Okay. Those butts are lives. And if you can get them in seats, that's one micro step to them hearing the message and connecting with you. So
that's exactly right.
When we talk about how to grow your church and social media in 2020, this is not a show of click these buttons, make this kind of post, and people are going to flood. It's your church growth in 2020 is a strategy. Here's how social media is going to play into it. So Chris said, it would help if these platforms aren't changing all the time. Mm-hmm. What we're going to share with you today is pretty much timeless. It's proven, and Facebook could change the way the algorithm works tomorrow. Today's show is still going to be relevant.
Right. These are core principles, regardless of the platform.
Principles that are unchanging.
Yeah. These principles
can change the way you do it. Worship ministry can change, the music can change, but the core principles of what we do, the principles and disciplines inside of those ministries never change. The same thing is here in social media in 2020. So some of it, you may say, I've heard that before. Well, guess what? You're not executing. So we're talking about it again.
Yeah. So basically these principles would work on MySpace, right? And Friendster.
They work everywhere you are. Instagram, Facebook, even TikTok. What we're talking about today, they work anywhere.
Really?
We're not talking about tactics.
Let's do it.
We're talking about the strategy to get into it. And Dave, you have some cool slides. So do I need to do anything like
Just
Next slide, please. Or
well,
you're
no,
just gonna hit it.
just yeah. Let's start with the first and foremost. Why even do social media? Why is social media important to your ministry and stuff? And Justin, I mean, you led off with the most important one. I think is that it provides social proof. It provides the ability for people to see that that there is something going on over there where these people are. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. And I'm gonna share some of my. Some people might think this is evil of me, but I don't care. I'm part of all the church communications, church marketing, church media, church everything, people, folks. And anytime there's a social media question, I always go into the profile and see where their church is, either they work for it or they're sharing their church post. And I look at their church and it's like a bunch of information and like nothing that I actually care about, or nothing that any human being ever will probably ever care about ever in the world or the history of the existence of the world. And so number one, what you got to start doing right now is use social media as a part of your social proof, like you said. Okay. Social proof is basically look at what the stories of that are happening, the people, the way people are talking about our organization, our church, our ministries, and look at even the testimonials of what's happening, because people want to belong. People want proof of what you say is truth. And then people will believe the stories of others. In fact, people will believe what others say about you more than what you say about yourself. So when I say social proof, yes, testimonials are great. You always hear me say, get the stories, get the testimonies of people. And it doesn't have to be salvation stories. It could be, one of the most powerful stories that, and the power comes from God and not the story, but one of the most powerful stories we ever had in the church I used to work for was someone just came in, his brother died 2 states away, and he needed a bus ticket to go to his brother's funeral. Whatever the family story is there, I didn't get it. I wasn't part of the interaction there. But the story that I heard was, this guy came in, he was looking for benevolence, but he wasn't looking for a meal or gas to an interview. He just wanted to go to his brother's funeral, and he just needed a bus ticket, however much those cost to go 2 states away. And we helped him do that, and we helped him go there. That's social proof that this church isn't just hoarding money to buy more lights and to buy nicer cushioned seats or to buy another Sunday fellowship lunch. We are helping people in our community with what they need right now. That's social proof that we are a church on mission to impact the community for the better. And then also people want to belong. So share social proof of what you're doing, the mission work you're doing in the city, the food pantry that you have. Basically, what social proof is not is what's your next sermon series. I'm going to say it too, a little bit of like, it's not just your Sunday live stream. All right. Right. Like, that's important.
It's not just promotional stuff.
But it's not just promotional stuff.
Right.
It's not just graphics of, oh, what are you eating for lunch today? Like, yeah, that gets engagement, but who cares? Okay. So you need more images of people belonging, more proof of that you are on mission, that you do what you say you're going to do. And then also more stories of what's happening. How does this social proof impact church growth? It encourages the people that are already going that they are part of something bigger. Part of Kingdom Impact, and it gives them more reasons to stay and more reasons to connect. And then for the unchurched, it shows them what they're missing out on, and it builds trust. Again, that, I'm just one of the clients I'm working with. They're a church passionate, reaching people reaching people that have been burned by church. And so, a lot of what we're sharing on social media, what they're sharing on social media is rehabilitating that disconnection of, the church is a waste of money and they just care about themselves. The pastor gets all the money and, they spend it on, nicer chairs or whatever. Right. So we're using their social media to show social proof that they are on mission. They are a church that is not like the rest of the churches that burn people. Does that make sense, Dave?
Yeah, well, absolutely.
So your action step when you're watching this, I want to give you an action step. Look at your social media, and I want you to count how many graphic posts and whatever question posts and live streams, anything that's not social proof, and that is, showing that what you're doing what you say, proof of what other people say about you, testimonies. How many of those posts do you have versus come to church this Sunday? Here's our sermon series. Here's our message. We need volunteers for this. Potlucks come. Announcement posts. How many social proof posts do you have versus announcement posts? If it's less than like 1 for 2, one social proof for every 2 announcement posts, get it to that point. If every other post is a social proof, you got 1 to 2, get it to every other one. Okay. 1 to 1. Okay. One, what are you doing? 1 sermon post, 1 graphic post, 1 announcement per picture of actual people, of testimonies, stories, impact that you have in your community. Get it to that ratio. Get it up to 1 to 2. And once you get there, get it up to 1 to 1. That's what you need, social proof. When you do that, again, it encourages the people that they are part of something. And the unchurched, it shows that you are actually doing something and you're not just sitting in a pew throwing a party every Sunday. My friend Jeff Reed, he did a really good Twitter post and I really enjoyed it. And it said something like, without the gospel, we're just a bunch of people that meet on Sundays for a party. Right. Or maybe even a concert.
Right.
Or a conference. So, show that. And if all you do is show, announcements and party posts, then that's kind of how you come off. So social proof, show what you're doing. Number 2, Dave, you want to talk about number 2?
Yeah, I can. Number 2 is basically just being consistent. That's one of the things that a lot of us have a hard time with, is just consistently showing up. Now, we, for the most part, if we're in the church world, if we're in the church, if you're in ministry, if you're on staff, if you're part of the worship team or part of the media team or something at church, you're going to be showing up consistently there to do the thing. If you're working in the church office, you're going to be showing up consistently to do all the things that you need to do for that job. When we're doing social media, one of the biggest things that we have to do is continually be there. And I know it sounds so weird. It's like, sometimes it seems almost counterintuitive, Justin, to like, and this is something that you and I have a hard time with, is with when we post a video, when we do something like that, we really should be posting that same thing or a variant of that exact same thing 2 or 3 times a week, and then a couple of weeks later and stuff, all this consistency and for whatever it is, whether it's a promotional thing, whether it's a story or whatever like that. And that's something that a lot of us have a hard time doing. We always think kind of a one and done, and now I don't have to do it again and stuff. But basically, if you're not doing it, if you're not consistent, social media moves ridiculously fast. If you could look at the amount of data that is going into, the amount of data that is aimed at each person. Okay, let's take Facebook. Facebook has algorithms to filter out a lot of stuff. But if you take a look at the raw data that you have said, I would like to see, people that you've followed through profiles, pages, groups, all that sort of stuff, it would look like Niagara Falls, and you're the guy standing on the bottom letting it all hit you, okay? So Facebook has culled a lot of that stuff and tried to get down to what is appropriate for you or what you are wanting to see based on stuff that you've done on there right now, okay? So we don't even get to see a whole lot of it. Because there is so much data, if you're not consistent, as far as Facebook is concerned, you don't exist. You're not there. No one's there to listen to you because you're not putting stuff out regularly. So Facebook says these people aren't important, so we're not going to show them to a bunch of people. I mean, it's ridiculous. Also, when there's a long delay, it looks like you're not doing anything. Okay, now we know that at our churches we are doing things. We're doing lots of stuff. We've got this initiative and this program and this. Each week we have a men's Bible study, and each week the Celebrate Recovery meets, and each Sunday morning we show a testimony or whatever. We know that all this sort of stuff is going on, but again, with social media, because people are basically standing back looking through a window, if they don't see something new from you, because they are seeing new things from everyone else, it looks like you're not doing anything. And again, that goes back to some of the promotion that you need to do and just some of the daily interaction, the sharing of your stories, things like that. Why else, Justin, do you think being consistent is like ridiculously important?
Yeah, it just you hit the nail of the head. Excuse me, you hit the nail on the head. Um, I don't know how much this relates, but just the way you said it reminded me when I was younger. In elementary school, my church had RAs and GAs,
Right.
Royal Ambassadors and Girl Ambassadors, I think.
No, girls in
I
action.
never went. I never went to RAs and GAs at my church. I was just never invited or whatever. Then we got into a discussion when we had a new children's pastor and I think a new pastor who wanted to switch over to Awanas.
Right.
And a big part that spoke out to me, and I was just in high school, but a big part that spoke out to me was how important invitations were to the Awana program.
Right.
And I was talking to an older guy, Jack, and I'm just trying not to get emotional because he just passed away last few weeks, and I just made that connection. But I was talking to him, and he was a teacher at RAs and GAs, and he was against Awanas, and he was like, "Why are we changing things?" And I said, Awanas was like it sounds like they really want to invite kids and get more people in. That makes sense to me. I like that. And he kind of like looked at me real confused, and he was like, "But you were always invited to RAs and GAs." And I was like, "Then why didn't anyone ever invite me?" Because I was in church every Sunday, and all I can remember was a bulletin announcement. And so the way you said it was kind of, I think, how Jack saw it, where like, we have it every week. Of course you're invited, but no one specifically spoke to me and said, "Hey, do you want to come to RAs and GAs?" Adults and kids alike.
Right.
And so when you don't post something on social media, yeah, it kind of just doesn't exist. Like, it's the same thing. You're not inviting anyone. You're not telling anyone what's happening. And we fight this a lot, especially when we're on staff in church. There's a Sunday morning service, a Sunday evening service. Someone got saved. Someone got baptized. Kids are going to camp.
Right.
D Now is making stuff happen. The youth have all these lock-in stuff, and we've got it in the church, on the bulletin, on the slides, on the TVs. We've got it in the email, maybe. It's fine. We don't have to put it on social media. Well, if you don't put it on social media, for some people, it just may not exist.
Right.
So when you don't post, you don't exist. So it just reminded me of that story. I don't know if that helped anyone, made any connections like me. Yeah, we have it. Of course you were invited, but no one really told me about it. And so when you're not, of course God's moving. Of course the church is doing stuff. Well, if you're not going to communicate that to people in yet another way, we're not saying stop doing it in the bulletin, start doing it on social media. You're going to do it in addition,
right?
Because again, it's an overall strategy. People will see this. So,
when you said it's an overall strategy, when you look at it from an advertising standpoint, if you haven't heard it, there's a term called media blitz. And if I see this a lot. I watch a couple of different news and commentary shows on Fox News, and one of the things that I've noticed is that when somebody like when an author has written a new book, whether it's actually a personality on that network or somebody else, they are doing a media blitz, and what they're doing is they'll go on Fox and Friends. They'll go on Neil Cavuto's show. They'll go on Sean Hannity's show. They'll go on his radio show. They'll go on Glenn Beck's show over on The Blaze. They'll go, you see what I'm saying? They will go to where all these little pockets of audience are. And in some cases, those audiences overlap. So what's happening is the people that are overlapping, they're hearing that message or a variant of that message on all these different things. Then there'll be, there may be a radio ad that you hear driving in the car. Get the new novel from Brad Thor or whatever. All this stuff is happening. It's a media blitz. And when companies go to advertise, say, on the radio, they do the exact same thing. They do a blitz where, like, for the first month or two, you're getting that message from them, their commercial. You're getting it 10, 15 times, 20 times a day, a couple of times in every single show at a minimum. That's the kind of thing that we have to think about here. Is that there are pockets of humanity that are sitting and working in these areas of social media. There are people that use Facebook and don't use anything else. Like my mother. My mother goes on Facebook, rarely interacts with anybody, but she'll scroll through and see things, okay? There are people that only use Instagram. There are people that only use YouTube. That's just the way it is. There are people that are spending 90% of their time on TikTok. for good or for bad, doesn't matter. That's where the people are. There are people that don't do any social media. They just sit at their office and check their emails and work on their projects. They're really disciplined and stuff. So it has to be everywhere, and you have to consistently be everywhere, because if you miss out on one, then those people are not. They will forget about you, or they'll wonder, why? What's wrong? Why aren't you communicating with us? Especially if you're consistent for a while and you stop.
Yeah, 100%. So how does this consistency translate to church growth? It's a little bit of what we talked about. It encourages the people that are already going. It gives them reasons to continue to trust and see you as an authority in the subject of their religion or their journey with God. And it shows the unchurched, that you're continuing to be a part of the community. You're continuing to try to transform and change lives for the better. And then, it just keeps your members tuned in to what's going on in church life, and shows the unchurched that you care enough about them to keep the communications lines open.
Right.
And it's too, in addition to what you said, Dave, that, some people just check Facebook and nothing else. In addition, the people that do check multiple things, if you do have multiple social media posts, or you have someone that comes in, they see the bulletin announcement for, let's say, camp donations. Okay, great. Yeah, that's great. That sounds like something that would be really nice if someone could give $50 and send a kid to camp. Then they're going to see it on the TV slide. Oh, yeah, they still need $50 for camp or whatever. Then maybe they get your email newsletter on Tuesday. Oh, we still need camp donations. Oh, man, they really do. This is something that's important. Then maybe on social media, you post, this is Dan. Dan went to camp last year and surrendered his life to ministry, and he's planning to go to go to college and then go to seminary. And that's the life change that happens at camp.
Right.
They see that on social media on Thursday. That's the fourth time they've seen that this week. And then maybe that's the time when he says, you know what, tomorrow's payday. I got an extra $50. I'm going to go ahead and pay for a kid's camp. And $50 is cheap, I know, but so I mean that's it's the multiple touch thing. It's the they say it takes 7 touches for someone to buy something at a store. 7 messages, 7 iPhone ads, or whatever it's going to be. When you just do that omnipresent approach of this is what we're doing, this is how you can be involved. Yes, you're asking for money. That was just an example. That 4th touch on social media, that 7th touch that they see it on social media, because you're consistent, can help someone take that step of either coming to church, checking out your website, sending you a message, whatever that is. So your action to be consistent. I just want you to plan when you're going to post on social media. How many times a week and on what platforms? You don't have to do it every day. It can be once a week. It can be twice a week, preferably 3 or 4 times a week, but it has to be consistent.
Yeah, and don't try to do too much. Don't try to do too much.
Ease into it.
Yeah, ease into it.
But again, it's kind of like if I go back in your social media history, it's like, man, they posted a lot in January. There's nothing in February, and there's a couple things in March. Like, what happened? Did the church split? Did they die? It's obviously not worth being a part of. And even though I felt the pull of God to come to your church and hear the message, I guess it's not worth it. Okay. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You have to kind of do that. So real quick too, we talked about it last week in our email list. If you're not in our email list, go to churchtrainingacademy.com and just sign up for anything there, any of our free resources. We talked about the 2020 plan book calendar, and I'm going to put a link in the live stream chat here, and it'll be down below in the show notes if you watch this later. Sunday U has a plan book that basically has every day of social media planned for you. All you have to do is post it. Okay. And, it'll tell you, hey, this Sunday, tell a story in your church. This is Taco Tuesday. Ask people what kind of tacos they like, or, share about a potluck that you have coming up or something like that, an announcement. Friday, hey, let's invite someone to church. Do a special church invite. It's got a whole bunch of other stuff there too, like how to plan your sermon series and how to plan your meetings, so you can help people. Dave's got it up on screen, so you can help get more organized. And just one of those planners is going to be on social media, and that alone is worth what the plan book costs, but you also get all the other stuff. So if you just don't know how to start planning your consistency and how you're going to post and what you're going to post, the plan book just takes care of all that for you. So all you have to do is execute. So if planning it and figuring it out scares you, but you want to do it, let Sunday U plan it and do it for you, and it's a one-time purchase, and they just give it to you.
It's good stuff.
And then use that link and we just get a little extra recognition there. And if you use our link and you send me your receipt, I'll give you our next social media course for free. I'll just give it to you for free when it's ready. So send that to me. That'll be something we do just to thank you for taking action. Number three is, again, going to be no matter what platform, no matter what consistency you're doing, but you have to be consistent, whether it's 3 times, 4 times. Number 3 is kind of the encapsulation of the first 2. So we want you to be more aware of social proof, and we want you to be more consistent. Number 3, I want you to start reading the data of your social media, because it doesn't matter what Facebook changes. If you're reading the data, it will never surprise you. And this is the thing that separates the leaders from the followers when it comes to church social media, is whenever something changes, the followers and everyone that's just kind of walking around blind and not reading the data says, oh no, something happened. What's happening? I don't know. What do I do? Please tell me what to do. The leaders, the people that are actually leading the forefront of social media, we weren't surprised for it, because we research and we stay in touch with what Facebook's changing. But also, before they even announce the change, we can see it in our own data. For almost a year ahead of time, I was telling all my clients, and I was telling a lot of you guys, even the ones that were following, this is more around the church marketing school days, post more pictures of people. Graphics don't work anymore. Post more pictures of people. That's what the data says. And then Facebook flat out came and said, hey, we want to tell more stories, and we want more human impact and all that. And it was like, yeah, we know the data's been showing that for 6 months. So number 3, read the data. Once you start telling more stories and you're more consistent, look at what people like to see. What are they interacting with? Okay. Engagement posts. What are you eating for lunch? What are your plans this weekend? Those are starting to take a dip. People they see that graphic and they leave. It's starting to take a dip. And, we saw that months before Facebook announced the algorithm change.
Right.
So look at what people like to see, what they're engaging with, and what videos they're watching, and double down on what's doing well. And this is in this is in all caps on my notes. So I'm going to say it in all caps. Stop doing what sucks. Can I say that?
Yes.
So many times I do social media audits, and they say, look at our social media because no one's interacting with it. And I look and I see on their last 5 posts, there's a sermon live stream, 10 people watched. Okay, not bad. You got 100 people at your church. There's a baptism picture, 50 people liked it and 3 people shared it. Awesome. And then there's just a whole bunch of, this sermon series is going to be this. This Sunday we're teaching on this. Graphic. And all of them have 2 or 3 likes. And I asked them, I said, why are you posting the graphics? And they say, well, we just don't know what else to post. The data is telling you what to post. Post more stories. People want to see baptisms. People want to see life change. People want to see your live stream. Do more live streams. Stop posting sermon graphics. They had 3 of something bad for every 1 of something good. And they just weren't reading the data. They just kept doing the same thing over and over again. So look at your data, look at your Facebook insights, your Instagram insights, your TikTok analysis, even your email opens and responds and replies and all that. What's working well, do more of it. And I know it sucks too, because you're like, man, but the sermon graphic slides, the what are you doing tomorrow slides, those are so easy to make and I can get it off my plate. If you do it and no one cares, why are you still doing it?
Yeah, why is it still on your plate?
Why is it still on your plate? So yeah, maybe you don't post every day. You only post 3 quality, social proof, consistent posts a week, and more people will see that versus a few people seeing a lot of graphic posts. So how does this impact growing the church? As with any ministry, you don't want to keep spinning your wheels on what's not working. Okay. Something we did when I was a youth intern is we had worship music and then a lesson, and then we split out into small groups. One day I did, I think we did it for a month. We didn't have worship music. I can't remember why. I think it was a summer, so all the band was gone. We just did games and drama skits before the teaching and the breakout to small groups. And what we saw was those games and drama skits way more impacted and communicated the message in a positive way towards our youth kids, our students, than anything else ever did with any music. And so we did the bold thing and we said, you know what? no more worship music right now. We're going to do a season without worship music. And every Sunday morning, we're going to start with a game or skit or both. And we saw kids really take to the message and kind of actually like get to their seats on time because it was something they wanted to participate in. We looked at different data points, but we saw what was working well and we nixed what wasn't. And we had a whole season of almost a year with no worship music. And it actually worked out really well too, because then we had like the students were like, we want music back. Can we lead it? And it was like, yes. And so we had a really awesome student-led worship band because the leadership got out of the way. Number two, how does this impact church growth? When you combine analytics reading with social proof and consistency, you get synergy with everything else to increase your presence, build your trust, and connect with the lost.
Synergy. That's a great corporate word. Let's drill down on that.
Everything working together the way it should.
Right.
Basically. So when you double down on that social proof and you're consistent, you will see what kinds of social proof works and you can do more of that. Mm-hmm. When you have something consistent you can look back on and you see, people actually do like the live stream sermon messages. Maybe a pastor can live stream something in the middle of the week.
Yeah, absolutely.
You do that for another month or a season and you see people are really responding to that.
Yep.
Who else can do a live stream in the middle of the week? Let's have the kids pastor do a kids lesson in the middle of the week. Maybe not on YouTube because of COPPA now, but on Facebook. Dave can talk more about that later because my head is spinning from that. But you look at the data and you see what people really respond to and you do more of that. Mm-hmm. Again, taking it out of the technology world, we did one summer when I was on staff, we did a Mythbusters sermon series. And we basically had people we had set up an anonymous text system and people could anonymously text questions they have of things they've heard about Christianity or the Bible, and pastor would do a sermon on that. That was huge.
Did you have a big bushy mustache and wear a beret?
No, we didn't take it that far, but we did have the Mythbusters logo with the broken glass and everything. It was pretty cool. And that was huge. People really responded to that. And our attendance actually went up in the summer. Mm. And it was because people wanted to hear these really important questions. And we realized, man, people really prefer topical, relevant sermons versus exegetical sermon series on Bible books, And so we kind of went that direction. Because we looked at the data, we looked at attendance, and we looked at how people were responding and engaging with what we were doing from the pulpit.
Yep.
We do it there, do it on social media. So here's your action. Dave, I know I'm taking this over, but this is kind of I'm number 3 I'm excited about. This is my bag. Once a month on the first, where I do mine on the first Friday of the month, look at your past posts from the last month. After you're being consistent and leveraging social proof, look at your last post of the month and do what's working. And then all I'm asking you to do is do 10% more the following month.
Right.
Okay. Big changes happen from little steps. Mm-hmm. Right. You walk a mile, one step at a time. So if you look at the last month and you say we did 3 testimonial videos or pictures, and we wrote a testimonial, and those outperformed everything we did. Mm-hmm. Okay. What's 10% of 3.3 rounded up 1? Next month, do 1 more. Try to do 1 more, do 4 stories. Okay. And I'm not saying like, what's your salvation story? Because you're going to run out of people.
Right.
But story of what's the biggest thing God's done in your life right now.
And
it could be something as simple as,
parenthetical. Let me tell you about those, because we're doing those and those are working very well. Is everybody has a story, and some of them are really dramatic and some of them are just endearing. We've had, our family pastor and his wife shared the story of when they had not gotten pregnant for a while, and then when they finally did, as they were going through the pregnancy, the doctor said, "Hey, there's a problem. There's a problem with the baby, and we really need to abort it and start over." And they said, "No." And so they prayed. And they just said, "God, either you're blessing us with a child with a birth defect, or you're going to fix it. Either way, we're okay." And so they just kept praying through it. And the long and the short of it is, the next time they went and looked, everything was absolutely perfect, as if there was never a problem. And so they told this story, and we showed him as a little baby and growing up and stuff. And then that day he was actually helping to lead worship with the worship team and all that. So that type of a thing that we showed in the church service and then showed later that week and then have gone back and, reshared it and stuff over time has an impact on people. And it could be something as dramatic as that. It could be something as quote unquote, and I'm using this term very loosely, mundane, everyday, pedestrian, as losing a spouse and the church just reaching out and enveloping you, as an older person. You know what I'm saying? Someone who's in your 80s and you are going to lose a spouse. Well, the story of when you lost your spouse and the church just swept in and helped you get through that. That means a lot. That's going to happen to everybody. So those kind of things. They don't have to be earth-shattering. They just need to be sincere and matter. And that leaves a very wide window with everybody in your church to help participate in something like that. You share that with the world. Yeah. You're showing what's going on at your church and how God's changing lives at the church. Because everybody else out there, whether they're a member of your church or not, can see that and will find something they identify with.
Yeah, 100%. A couple comments here I want to shout out. Chris is all over this, even though he says he's listening to it in the background.
Whatever.
Mark, he said Zucks said in his challenges for 2020 that Facebook is going to become more localized and more intimate. Again, the data has kind of shown that for the last 8 to 12 months as far as local stuff going. And then he said, create a social media calendar. I am trying to finally do that for my church this year and push them for ideas and create the calendar. And data always comes before announcements. Yeah. So when you read the data, you're going to have to start saying no a little bit. Okay. Sure. So if someone says, hey, can you put this up on social media? You might have to say no, because we did that 5 times before and it's only been seen by a couple people. Facebook doesn't like it. The people don't like it. It's not meant for social media. Now, we could probably brainstorm a way to do it differently. Stories are working really well. Can we tell a story about your knitting circle, or can we tell a story about your mother and daughter something else that's happening, like how did someone enjoy their last time? Can we do a Q&A live stream about it? Because live streams work really well. You'll have data to where you can say, no, I'm not going to post your graphic, but let's do something different to see how it connects with people. And then you're collecting more data. And then when someone else comes, hey, we're having a men's camp out, can you post this graphic? No, but when we did the mother-daughter dance or dinner, whatever, we did a live stream video and people really liked that. Let's do that this time. It's because the data will help influence you, and like Facebook is telling you what's working. You just can't be walking around. What's the Sandra Bullock blindfold movie?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I don't know, Lights Out or something. I don't know. That's in my Netflix queue. I got to watch it.
Oh, you haven't seen it yet?
No, not yet.
So good.
No, I know.
It's gonna bother me now. I have to bird box.
Bird box. There you go.
You can't be walking around bird boxing your social media. Take your blindfold off. Look at the data. Facebook will tell you how to defeat the monster. It's a great movie, Dave. You got to go watch it.
And we haven't even really touched on the difference.
The data.
We haven't really even touched on what needs to be on the page and what needs to be in your private group.
Yeah, we're not done talking about social media because so many of you guys are doing social media. We want you to do it well, and we want to teach you, and we want to come alongside you and help you with that. So this is not the only time we're going to be talking about social media in 2020 or even this month, but you got to get this, because even if you know what goes on a page versus a group, or how to run an ad, or how to audit your own page, or whatever else we're going to talk about, none of it matters if you cannot double down on social proof, be consistent, and start reading your own data. You got to get that done first, and then you can start building on that foundation. Otherwise, you're just building on sand.
Awesome.
I feel like I read that somewhere.
Yeah, building on, like a man who builds his house on the sand. I don't know. That sounds really good. Hey, guys, we'll see you in the next video.